Hi, and welcome again to Sit in It, the podcast with myself, Tracy A. Martin. I'm a hypnotherapist, whole life practitioner, life guide, intuitive. Fantastic handle. We are in season 3, episode 5. And many of you, I have given a little bit of a drop of information on what we were going to be discussing today. And we want to thank absolutely every one of you, not only who are listening to these words or watching and listening, but who are guided to myself on purpose. Sitting at the podcast was created because of many of you that had reached out to me and said, Tracy, could you do a podcast for us to sit in things more? You help us understand things from more of a stable or grounded level. And I've always been of service, first to myself. And because you learn to love yourself so inside out, you realize you can't help but love everyone else, because the love inside of you can't help but flow outside of you. And we are on purpose. And that is why sitting at the podcast triggers you, excites you, makes you feel numb, makes you feel all the feels, because we hate being accountable. We hate having to wear the things that don't make us look good. And it's our faults. We have to wear that every choice we make has an outcome no matter what. And that's what these Sit in It podcasts are for, is to help you navigate easier so you have more things in your tool belt to break through those old toxic traits that you didn't even know that you were running. And we all have them because we have been programmed with every person, every influence, every event, everything around us. And so that today, with this beautiful podcast of season 3, episode 5, is around the AI bot dating app programs. This is completely one of the reasons that many people had started to email me questions to support at livingwholeonpurpose.com. is the only reason that I will create a Sit in It podcast. It is because you want to know. I will never just come up with a topic and start reading about it, because the only time that you want to hear me is because you are asking questions. And so this podcast is around about 4 beautiful individuals that have emailed me specifically around ghosting and around why nobody wants to be on a dating app. Your confidence has been shot. You're continually feeling like you're not good enough when you felt great to get out into the field, and then something happens. So let's get into this of the whys that this has been happening on such a big level. So why was it okay for ghosting? Why has it been okay on any level for someone to ghost you? So let's get into what is ghosting. So from most people's perspectives, whether you get a phone call and nobody picks up, and it goes to like the voice message, and someone leaves a voicemail and you do not return that call, or the biggest, which has been the massive ridiculous pandemic all over this world, someone texts and sends it to you and you don't respond, or you respond days or weeks later. Then there's the ghosting that happens in your presence, in person, and that is people that are not engaging. You're speaking to them and they aren't hearing you. And so how many of you raise your hands that you have other things going on in your mind, someone's talking to you, and you realize you have ignored them? That is ghosting. That is modern day ghosting on every level that you are not present in. and not responding to, that is a level of what ghosting is. And why has this become common and modern day? Can you imagine going up to someone in person saying, "Hey, how are you today?" And then them blank staring at you and saying nothing? That is the exact reason people are feeling ghosted. That is the exact reason why it is the most disrespectful, disgusting habit that people have gotten into. And you have been allowing it. How many of you, when you first start out, have this impeccable way of showing up because you're selling yourself? You're selling yourself and you want to look like the good character. But guess what happens with when you're playing a part? When it's not really who you are, eventually your true colors come through. And in the last episode, we talked very much about love bombing and why people believe that love bombing is a red flag when it is absolutely not. It is the stopping of it that happens. We want consistency in order to grow, to feel safe, to feel heard. And if there's no consistency, then we start to feel red flags and we start to pull back. Why is that? Well, because if there's no consistency, then that's disrespect. And every one of you have been feeling these relationships. And we are at an apex right now between the 3D world and the 5D world. And what I'm speaking from that is our levels of love in our consciousness. A 3D love loves the idea of you and what you do for them. A 5D love will continually want to date you and get to know you like they've never ever met you before. Because every brand new breath you breathe, you're brand new. You are allowed to change your mind. Everyone, period, is allowed to be happy. But what is it, or who is it that you need in order to be happy? So let's get deep into this, because we're going to get into the next stage of what happens in that dating realm and what has happened where people have been belittled instead of having a bar or requirements of what you require to have a relationship. It was a psychological operation that was created on purpose. And if you do any research into dating programs, you'll find out most of them are CIA created. And they were a huge psyop on humanity because, and most of them, specifically one, especially where most of you, naturally guided by your heart, led away from it because they were profiling you and then deciding for you who they would bring to you as an algorithm. Does this look a little familiar now with how you don't even get to on any social media platform, just scroll and look? Nope, the moment that there are seconds stopped on a page, you get a whole bunch more of that algorithm. This is huge AI programming that is trying to program you to what you want. Instead of, like many of you who have come to many of my courses that have come to see me in person lots know, I love to speak about the buffet table because it tells you about so much about ourselves. When we go to a buffet table, there's going to be things on that buffet I've never ever tried before. Smells I may not have smelt before. Tastes I may not have tasted before. And most of us are stuck in the reptilian part of the brain, which is fight, flight, or freeze, which is emotionally based. And that is where every sales marketer out there tries to trigger you, is in your feels. Now, most of us, and it doesn't matter. That's why when you watch little babies when they're first learning, they're new things to try things that are new. It's new to the taste buds. It's a brand new experience. And if it looks a way we don't like it, or it feels the way we don't like it, smells the way we may not know to like, and tastes different about textures. We are tactile. We are in a 3D plane where it's in a material realm. So we want to feel our feels. And then we decide whether to reject it or accept it. And that's just what we do. And we're at a buffet and we see all these different types of food, some of them familiar, some of them not. And I'm going to pick up my plate. Am I going to choose things that I know I don't like? Not on my plate. Am I going to choose things, though, that I may not have tried before that I'm going to have an experience for? Absolutely. And I'm going to fill up my plate and I'm going to sit down knowing I get to go up as many times. It's all you can eat. And so I'm going to sit down and I'm going to experience some of the stuff that I enjoy and some of the things I've never tried before. And I'll never go back if I've tried it and said, yeah, I'm not interested. I don't want to go back. And we can make that statement sitting at a table when we're eating. Now, do you in real life continually keep putting on your plate the crap you don't want? Yeah. Do you know why? Because of your ideas of what love is and what love is not, which has been your program of love. That's what your whole program of love is. And when we get into the base of and the root of what was normal to you growing up, what you saw will become your ideas of what love is and how it's brought to you. If someone was abandoned, whether it was, watching the mom or the dad and one of them abandoned each other, used somebody as a doormat, all those kind of things, those will become ideas of what love is to you, and you'll see them play out in your life. If you've seen people who were alcoholics, it would have been normal to you, and it will look normal to you to be a drinker because that's just what you are until you don't want to be it anymore. There are people that it's normal to them until something happens for them to realize it doesn't feel good anymore. So when you realize you are just an experience, you are this miraculous experience, you are life. That's a miracle in its own. And you're here having many, many experiences. That's the root of what it is. Now it's easier for me to set up my requirements of what I want and what I do not want. But it's usually only through the living in it and sitting in it and it not feeling good that we can decide to create that boundary. And then you decide to get out there. You're feeling good about yourself. You are more confident. You know more of what you want, which is fantastic because then you're throwing out to the universe of all that you are, what you are ready for. And you say, I allow the next experience. Why is it so important when we realize everything we're feeling, thinking, speaking is casting out what we want next? That's why you're not your bucket list, not your hope or wish list, because all that's going to do is sit on a shelf. My requirement list is very direct and very crystal clear. And when I decide that that's my requirements, I speak them out, feel them, I know them, I'm going to start bringing people into me. And what we call runners, which are going to happen to you 100% of the time, is because you've been running a program of who you are and who you allow in your life. And the moment, because it's been normal, and so it becomes your default program. And the moment you change and start making these changes happen, they may feel grueling at first because they're new. No different than anything else. We need to repeatedly become them before they become the everyday. So you're going to have runners that come and saying, are you sure? Are you sure? Are you sure? And it's going to feel so inundating. But when you stand strong in what you want and what you do not want, then the universe that you are will be that program of knowing no longer what will be magnetically attracted to you. So, what happened in the dating world? Let's play into the psychological warfare of the mind that was happening with all these dating apps. So, I'm going to get down to the root of how easy it was for me to discover when 6 years ago, when there was such a division and there was such a space of either people awakening mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, or not, you started to really see who you really do not want to date. And so myself and a couple others, we were like, you know what, we should create a dating app site for those on their awakening journey, so that it could just be friendships, it could be relationships of many kinds, and it could even become more of an intimate relationship, because we know right now in the consciousness, all of our soul families are starting to come home. And the great thing with internet is it's making it so it doesn't feel like there's so much time space in the way. So I had my guy that is my website guy that runs all like those kind of things, look into what it would cost, what it looks like to be able to set up a properly activated dating site for those on their awakening journeys, and what platforms that we would have to actually advertise on, because many of us that are in the truth world have been so heavily censored that we knew that we'd have to get them to places where those that are on their awakening could have a chance to see them. And after weeks and weeks of research, he came back to me to let me know, number one, that it was going to cost a few $100,000 for one, because of the way that it has to integrate all the things that we wanted for people to be able to have in that dating app, of knowing that there was many different reasons why you may be wanting to be in the dating world. And most people at this time were so sad that they felt detached from any form of community, that we know that many people wanted to just have people to talk to, create friendships, relations where they didn't feel so alone. And so much of the world is still feeling that, and now has zero trust because the falling of the walls that are starting to come down. That's why many of you want real and raw, no bots, no AI, and yet many of you are still being hoodwinked into these programs that aren't real. We also found out that, let's say you start a dating app, but it's brand new, so nobody has signed up yet. Well, would somebody sign up and give their money when there's only 2 people on the app to look at? No. So what have all the dating apps done? They created not real people. There's a whole bunch of bots on there pretending to be something, with a face, with a name, with a profile. So let's go deeper into realizing how much psyop has been happening on your beautiful little minds and your hearts. And this doesn't just happen in the dating world. How many of you have, and I have been inundated with tons of celebrities that suddenly have reached out, all that, and oh, but they're not allowed to talk to you in person because their managers have all of their social media. And we know how many of you that follow certain people, and you'll see fakes reaching out to you because they want to sell you stuff or put you in a place of fear of things that you need, all those kind of things. This is a huge psychological warfare program happening, and it's definitely a spiritual warfare that's going on, because the easiest way to break someone is to break the spirit, and then your heart is broken. And so when you realize that on many of these dating apps, that these people that reached out to you, that gave you a wink, or you gave a thing to, and you have a bit of a conversation and then they ghost you because it was programmed into the system. And it starts to wear on you and it makes you feel you're not good enough, or that there was something you said or didn't say that the next conversation didn't happen from. And because it became normal, the program programmed all of you to start doing the same thing to everybody. And this has happened on a massive scale. And people started shutting down. And people started becoming normal or comfortable with having a bit of a chat and then moving on. And giving no closure of saying, you know what, this really isn't the first sets of what I'm looking for. I wish you well, and you move on. And I want to commend many of you who are stand-up characters, who stay in your integrity, who say what they mean and mean what they say, because that is a true king and queen. And that is real people that have souls. But we know there's not everyone out there pretending to be human that have a soul. And that has to do, did you know, actually, this is one of the things that has been huge on my mind lately when I look into the energy fields of people, to realize that there are supposed influencers out there that are AI. They're not even real. They're not even real humans. They've been created by AI and they have millions of followers. And people believe whatever that thing says. You know that many of the things you're seeing outside of yourself were created on purpose with a purpose. And whether it's when you realize everything is advertising, everything is selling you all the time and trying to bait and switch you all the time. This is where it helps. And that's why many of you have pulled away from the dating apps, that you have pulled away from social media, because you are so sick and tired of the fakes that are out there. Those fake people or programs that are out there trying to continually cause harm on you. And ghosting needs to stop, and it begins with you. What happens in a society where people stop communicating and wanting to understand the other? We're watching the collapse happen right now. The collapse of families, of friendships, of every form of relationship we're watching collapse right now, because we realize, what were these relationships built on? Were they built from a place of stability, of security, of authenticity, or is there an ulterior motive that is happening? So then everyone starts to stop trusting everyone and anything. And that's, from the last episode, the reason why people believe that love bombing becomes a red flag and they think it's toxic, instead of realizing there are true loving beings out there that just know to love with their whole heart. And because some of you have been in the dating field for so long, or been single for so long, and have been used to people bringing a bunch of beauty to you and then pulling back. So how about we start getting the red flags in, not off love bombing, because love will never hurt you, but lack does. How about we start creating accountabilities and responsibilities so that people have to stand up and be who they are. And the moment that they're slacking, why are you deciding it's okay? And it's because most people are scared to rock the boat. Any of you who know me know that I have no problem rocking any boat because I'm not going to be in a boat I don't want to be in. I don't like swimming. I don't like having my face wet. I love water. But I'm not going to stay in a boat that is full of lack, that is toxic. The moment that you allow your requirements to not be important, you need to go back inside to yourself and have a long, hard talk with yourself and cheerlead and support yourself back up to realize why they're important. Each one of those list of requirements of what needs to be in any relationship, all my relationships have the same requirements. You want to be in my life? Then you show up and be who you are. Be who you be and be fantastic at who you are. Because I'm going to put you in a placement. Showing me who you are is going to decide whether I'm going to invite you to sit at my table or not. And that's where friendships are, and that's where acquaintances are, and that is where people that are never going to be welcome in my home are. I will never judge you, not at all. But your actions will tell me whether we are in alignment or not. And that's what the real world is. And many of you have had, whether it was on Facebook or TikTok or whatever, where people started reaching out to you, the same requirements that I speak with all my couples that are in my chairs here, the requirements to know what's the next level of where you want to go to are simple. If it begins with a message, do you realize the reason that HR was created in so much of the world, of the business world, was because everything started to have to be done in email. And everyone in the world, other than those of you who have become true to yourself, to realize, number one, you take nothing personally. Number two, you have no expectation. Number three, you have no judgment. I can't tell you how many people take offense or have their feelings hurt because they read an email because of the state of mind they're in and decided that it was harmful or cold or whatever instead of it was just direct. How many of you have people who their feelings are hurt because people are direct and they say what they feel? How many people are out there that purposefully do speak and cause harm? How many people have been broken up to through email or text message, which is ghosting as well? When you can't face yourself as yourself, and you can't face a person in front of you as yourself speaking to that person, you're the one with an issue. How many of you, raise of hands, have a hard time communicating because you take everything as a defensive position? How many of you are ghosted because your other half does not communicate to you? What is ghosting? This is toxic, and this is disgusting. And many of us who are whole heart-centered, the more love that you are for yourself, you do not tolerate what is lack. Because lack is love lying. It is a lie. So the greatest thing that I would love to give to you today for you to sit in is to realize you are allowed to be loved on all levels. You are allowed all the requirements of what your idea of love is to you, so long as you wear that you are those to yourself and to everyone else, or you've got work to do. But the right person, and there are so many people in alignment with exactly who you are now that are coming through. Like I've said, they're called soul family. And that is why it feels like home. The moment that you reach yourself so wholly that those requirements are, they are known, and there is nothing else, and someone starts bringing those requirements to you, it feels fantastic because that is love reciprocating. How do you help someone know what you want? Use your words. If you're scared, when you begin any form of a getting to know anyone in a relationship and you are scared to give your requirements of what needs to happen for presence to show up, then who do you have an issue with? And women, yes, many of you want your men to read your minds, and they will not. You're the more intuitive. The feminine energy is more intuitive than the male energy is. And you have masculine and feminine energy within you. Some of us can read minds, and it really freaks a lot of people out. But do you think I want to do it all the time? No. I want someone who wants to know me because they want to know me. I want to know that person because they're so important to me. They make my heart flutter. They make me feel feels. They want the same things. How do you know if you can't communicate what you want? How, if you don't know what you want and it's a new space for you to navigate through, perfect. Be open. Observe. Ask questions. That's how we learn. When you're meeting someone for the first time, I love absolutely everyone I'm in contact with because they're brand new. They're their own color, their own personalities, their own perspectives. And I love understanding because I want to understand them. I will ask questions to understand their perspective because that's the only perspective they have. I can't assume who they are. I can't judge them. I can't expect anything from them. And I definitely am not going to take anything personal from them because I want them to be an open book. I want them to know that there is nothing on the table that can be pulled off. If that is part of who you are, perfect. Show me who you are. How many of you have sat with me and said, I gave up too much of my information and now they're holding it against me? How can they hold it against you? Either they align with you or they do not. If you believe that you are a freak, then you're going to align with someone else that is the same freaky that you are. Remember, we're not here to be cookie cutters. It is freaking boring. It was funny. I had a really beautiful soul the other day ask me, what is the one thing that really bothers you? And not much bothers me other than anyone playing small. That's probably the biggest thing, is because when I look at you, I'm looking into your soul, into your auric field. I'm looking into the who you really are instead of the avatar that you're playing. And it usually makes me want to cry because I see how powerful you are and how phenomenal and miraculous you are, and how you're playing this little bitty part that you're never going to win an Emmy for or Grammy for because you're don't even want to be seen. And that's probably what annoys me the most. It annoys me that people believe they are something and they prove they are not. Your actions tell you exactly who you are. Like I have said, affirmations are the biggest bullshit scam out there. You can say affirmations all you want, but until you have a matching emotion around them and make them intentful, then that becomes a part of who you are. And no different than any of you when you're learning something new. You need to give yourself time to integrate. When I was learning 1 + 1 is 2, 1 + 1 is 2, I spoke it out loud. I spoke it in my mind. I would have to think of it before I wrote it down on paper. The moment you know it, it just naturally is. And this is the same thing with you when you're becoming somebody new. You, again, like I said, you are never going to find yourself. That was the biggest psyop as well, to keep you outside of yourself. You can't hide from yourself. Therefore, you can't find yourself. You're just not wanting to see yourself. So create you, because no one else gets to. You are that color out there. Don't you dare make yourself be small for anyone that isn't going to understand you. Because the only reason they won't understand you is, number one, because you're not expressing yourself with your words and your feelings, or they're not asking the questions. We are in a brand new space where many of you are in an uncharted territory where you know you're ready to level up, but you don't really know how to do it. Number one, do not be anything anyone else is that was causing harm on you. So number one, stop ghosting. So how do we do that? Well, on a text message, there is a place on there that shows delivered and shows read. Even on Signal, WhatsApp, places like that, you will see if someone is on or not, because you'll see either one check mark or two, or you can see a thing up top, last seen at this time. How do you stop ghosting? In my practice, when I am in session, I don't have my phone near me because, number one, I don't want my phone near me listening, because I'm trying to keep everything confidential for my clients. And I do not want any interruptions. So if someone has texted me, if I do not have time to answer them, I don't even read that text. I don't read my texts until I'm ready to respond, because that is no different than if someone leaves a voicemail for me. The moment I hear that voicemail, I have to respond to it. Now, how many of you have had their panties in a knot because so much of technology isn't coming through for us at the time? And so that's why I make sure to speak to all the people getting a hold of me, that if I have not responded to a text or to a phone call, please call me again, because I never got it. And that's happening to many of you. And people take things personally because they didn't hear anything. The integrity of who I am, I will always respond to you. Always. Now, is there times where I don't respond? Yes. When I have people that are in session with me and they're going through a breakthrough, I will purposefully either respond to them saying, I need to have silence because this is you that needs to work through this. You've got this. Or if you are in a trap, and most of you that are in sessions with me, that I've already told them, if I do not respond, it's because I will not, because this is yours to work through. Because I never want anyone to become dependent on me. That's the difference between someone who's in psychiatry, psychology, or whatever. They want you to come see them every week and make them money so that you can just keep blah, 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 blahing. I'm going to make you accountable. I never want to see you again because you are fantastic and haven't needed it, other than to see you because you're having such a great life. That's a true leader, is someone who wants everyone to be fantastic. Be as present as you can, and apologize if you realize you weren't listening to them. Get out of that ego 5-year-old self of yours that wants to believe you do nothing wrong. Realize you're going to do many things wrong according to certain people. You can even be in a conversation with someone and someone else is in a bad mood or taking things in a different way because they're so hypersensitive from their day, and they're going to feel things. That's where communication comes in. That's where you wanting to know each other because you want to be winning it together with each other comes in. Communication is key. So in that field of the new relationships that you have, when you first start off texting and messaging each other and getting to know each other and deciding, does this feel in alignment? Does this not? What's the next step that has to happen? There has to be voice and audio recognition. How many people, when the dating world first came out there, and it stayed continually just on messaging, and people left their families and went and found out that that person wasn't real. Do you know how many scammer females are out there that know exactly what a female wants to hear, pretending to be someone else? Many of you that are listening to this have fallen trap into being scammed by people pretending to be something they're not. Every relationship is important, and your requirements are super important. And if you need to carry your requirements in your notes and your phone with you everywhere you are, so that you are speaking them to yourself, knowing exactly what it is and what it is you will not tolerate of every relationship, this will help you from getting scammed. And this is people having to give their disclosure of who they are, what they want, what are they looking for. If people start to sidetrack you, then they're probably lying. If they can't tell you every question you have, if they cannot answer it and they keep trying to bait you away from it, then they are liars and they need to be stopped in their tracks, and you move on. Your requirements need to be very crystal clear. A true person is going to answer whatever questions you have, depending on if you've just met someone and they want to know what's in your bank account and they want to know certain things that are a different level of discussion, then absolutely. That's where you shut them down, tell them that is none of their business at this time because you don't even know who they are. Get your requirements together. Call people out and ask them why they thought that this on any level was respectful in any way to not respond. It's disgusting. And that is not love. And I have no problem calling people out on it. And you should have no problem calling people out on it. That's the mother trait in us, true divine feminine women. We are going to push people to be fantastic and to stand in their authenticity. And weak men, boys pretending to be men, because real men, there are no weak men. There's a lot of weak boys though. Just like a lot of weak girls, there are not weak women. Start remembering who you are and start acting accordingly. Be present, respond no matter what. And if the closure is what you need to say, is the last word you have to say to that person, perfect. Because if they were a bot, whatever, at least you closed it, speaking exactly what you want, because the universe is responding to everything that you feel. And when you say no to something like that, it is heard. When you allow, because you don't say yes and you don't say no, this inverted world seems to think it becomes the playground. So be very specific in what you want, what you do not want. And if you see something coming up, there's nothing wrong with asking for clarity. And if they can't give it to you, call them on it. And why would you want any further of a relationship if they cannot communicate to you and be clear with you? Quit being scared to be who you are. Quit Quit being scared of knowing you're allowed what you want, what you require. Quit being scared, because you can't come to the 5D world living in false evidence appearing real. And the more you know, the more it makes it easier for you to realize that it's not who you want to be. There's many people out there that show you who you don't want to be, which is great. And there's a lot of beautiful people out there that show you who they are in alignment with you with. I hope this has helped you in this Sit in It podcast. Any questions you have that you would like me to answer on a podcast, please send them. And you can have any form of alias name if you don't want your name being used, whatever it is. There's no thing left off the table in any questions you want to ask. Please do send the email to support@livingwholeonpurpose.com. If you are ready to break through, absolutely give me a call. Respond to me on openingdoorsproductions.com, and we will help you get to the next level only when you decide. And so thank you very much for this podcast and this fantastic conversation with all of you. Again, take what you need, leave the rest behind, and we will talk to you again.